For used car owners with access to home charging, driving electric was cheaper in 90% of scenarios. Where it was more expensive, it was in some instances of low annual mileage, fewer than 5,000 miles per year. However, even in these cases, driving electric remained cheaper for 74% of the vehicles analysed. What the Code Report has done is taken 50 new battery electric vehicles and 35 used battery electric vehicles and looked at the cost of purchasing one of those according to various different methods. Each scenario was assessed across 3 different annual mileage levels and 2 charging approaches, primarily home charging versus entirely public charging, over a 4-year term, resulting in 270 scenarios in total. Let's dig into the data. There is a broad spread of outcomes, but consumers who charge mostly at home are far more likely to save money with an EV compared to an ICE vehicle. Only a small proportion of outcomes, fewer than 10%, result in the consumer paying more. For drivers without home charging access, the median outcome still results in a saving of £430 a year. However, there is a 42% chance that they'll end up paying more over the term of the car. And this is all down to the cost of public charging, which, of course, has nothing to do with upfront purchase price, as quoted by the Ernst & Young report. In the used market, the difference is even starker. For a 6-year-old Audi e-tron, you can save almost £12,000 against the price of an equivalent Audi Q7. 12 grand. But of course, there are many factors that play into things like leasing an EV, which are not obvious and apparent at first glance. For example, with many EVs, the monthly cost is relatively low for a new car, but the initial deposit can be quite high. And if that's the case, ask your leasing company to reduce the initial deposit down to 1 month and recalculate the monthly payment. The amount you'll end up paying over the length of the lease will be the same, but it will mean you don't end up shelling out a lump sum that you might not have. Second-hand cars are where the major financial benefits come for EV buyers. The theory is that schemes such as lease schemes and salary sacrifice schemes bring new cars to market, and after 24, 36 or 48 months, these go to the second-hand market with all their initial depreciation taken off. And that's how I was able to get a nicely spec'd Polestar 2 with the Plus and Pilot Pack for less than the cost of a much cheaper ID3 leased from new. Plus, I have the option of paying a relatively small balloon payment for the car when the lease is up to take total ownership of it. So what does the cost of driving electric report say about used car drivers? Well, let me give you a quote. Drivers with driveways. For used car owners with access to home charging, driving electric was cheaper in 90% of scenarios. Where it was more expensive, it was in some instances of low annual mileage, fewer than 5,000 miles per year. However, even in these cases, driving electric remained cheaper for 74% of the vehicles analysed. The average saving over 5 years for someone charging at a home was £5,317. Drivers without driveways, or consumers without access to home charging, a higher cost of public charging reduced savings. At 5,000 annual miles, over 60% of used EVs were still more affordable over a 5-year term than their ICE counterparts. However, at 10,000 annual miles, this dropped to 46%. The cost of charging away from home is a significant challenge for all stakeholders, not least drivers. End quote.